Good afternoon. In today's lecture, we will be seeing flow control and error control protocols. So, in the previous lecture, I have already begun this topic and I have even taught a basic introduction of flow control and error control. But once again, today we will see an overview of these two protocols and we will go through the protocols in detail. So, first and foremost, flow control and error control are the responsibilities of data link layer, and these two together are known as the data link control. Flow control and error control together are known as data link control. Now, whenever we are talking about data communication requires two devices working together, and so DC data communications, it requires two devices that are working together, and one is sending the data and the other is receiving the data, obviously. So we have a sender and a receiver over here. Now this arrangement of sending or this arrangement of communication requires coordination. So what is needed is basically coordination. So for this coordination to take place, data link layer has to take care of these two things. One is the flow control and the other is the error control. Now, what do you mean by flow control and error control individually? So first and foremost, flow control is basically, it coordinates the amount of data that can be sent before receiving an acknowledgement. So suppose there are two friends communicating. There is friend 1 and friend 2. If friend 1 is writing a letter to friend 2, then obviously friend 1 will wait for the response of the letter from friend 2, then only he will be writing another letter. So basically I'm talking about, if friend 1 sent the letter 1, then he will wait for the letter from friend 2, which we can call it as letter 2. Okay, so letter 2 is sent by friend 2, or we can even name it as the acknowledgement from friend 2. Acknowledge. So friend 2 is basically acknowledging that I have received your letter. These are the things you have written in my letter, and I'm replying back to your letter. Or you can even take it as an example from your WhatsApp message. So if you are sending a message, then you will wait for the acknowledgement. So these days we can even send multiple messages or multiple images, but let's take the era of SMS, when you had to send a message and you had a limited SMS in your phone. So there were limited SMS, so you can only send, suppose, and that SMS also had only 140 characters. So in that case, you had to send that SMS, and usually people wait for the acknowledgement of the SMS and then they will send another SMS. So in this way, this can be actually given as an example of flow control. Flow control is basically how much data a sender can send before receiving an acknowledgement. So suppose this friend 1 and friend 2 have agreed that friend 2 will wait for 3 letters from friend 1 to acknowledge his 3 letters together. So that 3 letters can be the amount of data that is sent before acknowledgement. So in most protocols, flow control is the set of procedure that tells the sender how much data it can transmit before it must wait for an acknowledgement from the receiver. So suppose if you're sending the SMS or if you're sending messages, and then in that case you don't usually do this, that is, you won't send tens or hundreds of messages together and then the other person will respond. You will send some limited amount of messages, it may be 5 or 6 or 7 messages, and you will wait for the other person to respond. So that is the flow control mechanism. So that is, the flow of data must not be allowed to overwhelm the receiver. Overwhelm is basically, he must be able to respond back to the sender. So any receiving device has a limited speed at which it can process the incoming data. So the receiving device, so suppose if I have the sender and the receiver, then the receiving device will have some limited speed or limited storage. So for that, and it will have a limited amount of memory in which to store the incoming data. So suppose if you're talking about the days of SMS, then there was some SMS capacity that which the receiver can store. Now suppose if you're sending 200 300 messages at a time, then the receiver might not be able to store and he might not be able to respond also. So that is why the receiving device must be able to inform the sending device before those limits are reached. That is, your storage should be sufficient, and also he should be able to receive some amount of data and he should be able to acknowledge it. So that is why receiving device must be able to inform the sending device about the limits. And also incoming data must be checked and processed before it can be used. So the rate of processing of the data which is sent is usually slower than the rate of transmission. So suppose if we are sending a message, first you are sending a message, hi, then you are sending how are you, then you are sending where are you, in this order. Then what will happen is the receiver will take some time to read the messages, and then he has to even acknowledge the messages. So that process at the receiving end will take some time. So for this reason, each receiver has a block of memory called a buffer. So receiver in the case of data communications has a block of memory called buffer. Now what will this buffer do? It will store the incoming data until it is processed. So suppose if we are reading hi, then this how are you, now I'm giving a generalized example, this is not the actual scenario in the case of data communications, but buffer, what it will do is it will store the extra messages that have been sent or the extra data that has been sent while the receiver is processing already some other data. So that is stored in buffer. And if the buffer begins to fill up, the receiver must be able to tell. So suppose the receiver is processing data and buffer still has messages to be processed and the storage of buffer has been filled up. In that case, the receiver must tell to the sender that please stop your transmission. I need to process the data that you have already sent. So this entire thing or this entire mechanism that I have explained just now is comes under flow control. So before we see the definition, this is the definition. Flow control refers to a set of procedures used to restrict the amount of data that the sender can send before waiting for an acknowledgement. So basically, the mechanism of flow control is it has a set of procedures which restricts the data. So suppose you are saying that I can receive only 5 messages, I need to process those 5 messages, then only you can send me 5 other messages. So that is the amount of data that the sender can send before waiting. So 5 is the number of messages the sender can send before he should start waiting for an acknowledgement. Now, the next is the error control. Now, what do you mean by error control? So we have already seen this one, that is, it is both error correction and error detection. It allows the receiver to inform the sender of any frames lost or damaged in transmission. So error control is basically, now we have seen that the data is sent to the receiver. The receiver will process the data, and if the receiver needs some time, then it will ask the sender to halt or stop the transmission. Now, in the case of data being received, suppose if there is an error, what should be done? So if the receiver has received lost frames or lost data or damaged data in transmission, then it tells the sender that listen, I have received lost frames, or I did not receive these frames, or I did not get these frames correctly. There is some error in these frames. So the sender will retransmit the frames. So in the data link layer, the term error control primarily refers to these two things. The first is the error detection. Actually, this is the error detection, the first one, and then we will correct it. So first, obviously, we have to detect the error, then we have to correct the error. So, or or also sometimes error is retransmit. Error correction is basically retransmission. So that is retransmission. Error control in the data link layer is implemented by any time an error is detected in an exchange or in transmitting, specified frames are retransmitted. So this process of retransmission is called automatic repeat request. I'll just write it over here. Automatic repeat request. So error control in the data link layer is based on ARQ. This automatic repeat request is ARQ, which is the retransmission of data. Now, so before we begin, the next thing, that is the protocols for error control and the flow control. So how does this data link layer combine framing? So we know what is frames, all right. So there is the concept of framing. Then we have flow control. And then lastly, we have error control. So flow control and error controls are used to achieve the delivery of data from one node to another. In this case, we have these three things to be done. So these are the three responsibilities of data link layer actually. The protocols are normally implemented in software by using one of the common programming languages. So usually whenever we are talking about data communication, we use a programming language, but in this case, when we are studying the protocols, we will only use a pseudocode. So these are the protocols. So we divide these protocols into two channels, or one is the noiseless channel and the other is the noisy channel. So this noiseless channel actually is not used in real life, but to understand noisy channels protocol, we need to understand this one. For the noiseless channels, these are the two. So first we have simplest protocol, then we have stop and wait protocol. And based on this two protocols, so if you understand these two protocols, then we will be able to understand stop and wait ARQ, go back and ARQ, and selective repeat ARQ. So as I said, ARQ is automatic repeat request. So first and foremost, we will begin with the noiseless channel protocol. Now, there is a difference between the protocols we discuss here and the ones we use in real life. So all the protocols we discuss over here are unidirectional, that is, they travel in only the direction, in the sense that data frames travel from sender to the receiver, and we do have acknowledgement, that is from receiver to sender, but that is a special scenario. But right now we will only be studying about the protocols in the unidirectional case. And we will have something known as acknowledgement from the sender to the from the receiver to the sender, but this is just that, okay. We won't be seeing data which is being sent from the receiver to the sender, that is the vice versa case. And also we will have something known as negative acknowledgement. So this is ACK and this will be NAK. Negative acknowledgement is it can flow in the opposite direction for the error and flow control purposes. And so data will be in unidirectional, and acknowledgement and negative acknowledgement can be in the opposite direction, that is from receiver to sender. So in a real life network, so these whatever we are talking about is not used in the real life network. So in the real life network, the data link protocols are bidirectional. So to make it simple, we will be studying it in unidirectional, but usually in real life, whenever you are studying about these, or whenever you are using these protocols in real life, it will be bidirectional. So in these protocols, the flow and error control information, that is acknowledgement and negative acknowledgement, is included in the data frames in a technique called as piggybacking. So we have a technique known as piggybacking, which is basically it uses this acknowledgement and negative acknowledgement and it encloses it in the data frames only. So bidirectional protocols are more complex. That is why we will be studying only unidirectional protocols. So now we will begin with the noiseless channel protocols. So first and foremost, to study about, so any channel, whenever we are talking in the real world, any channel will have noise. Noise is basically some kind of interference or disturbance. So noiseless channel, as I said, does not exist. It is an ideal channel in which no frames are lost, duplicated, or corrupted. That is, there is no error occurring. And we know, as we all know, that this is not possible. We might have some kind of error, or we might have some frames lost or corrupted. So the one we are talking about, noiseless channel, is basically I can say that it is not a reality. Okay, we are studying about just a scenario in the ideal case. Okay, so in this channel we will be studying about two protocols. One will be the basically the first is a protocol that does not use flow control. So in the first protocol, that is the simplest one. So here we will go back again. Yeah, so in this one we do not use flow control. No flow control is used in this case, and in the second one we use flow control. So in both of these cases we do not have error control mechanism, no error control mechanism, because we are talking about ideal channels, right? So there is no error occurring in these channels, so there is no error control mechanism. So this is the perfect channel, or the perfect ideal noiseless channel, we can say. So now in the first one, for the first protocol, which is the simplest protocol, and now why are we calling it simplest protocol? Because it is very simple to understand. So it is a unidirectional protocol in which data frames are traveling in only one direction. And here we are assuming that as soon as the sender sends the frame, the receiver will process the frame. So the processing time is negligible. Let me just take this. So the design of the simplest protocol with no flow or error control. So what is happening over here? We assume that the receiver can immediately handle any frame it receives with a processing time that is basically negligible. And the data link layer of the receiver immediately removes the header from the frame and hands the data to the network layer, which can also accept the packet immediately. So in other words, basically the receiver does not need to ask the sender to wait or stop so that it can process the frames. It is immediately processing. So there is no need for flow control in this scheme. The data link layer at the sender side, so this is the sender. Let me just zoom in over here. Yeah. So the data link layer at the sender side gets the data from its network layer. So obviously the network layer will give the data to the data link layer, and it will make the data link layer, what will it do? It will make a frame out of the data and it sends it. The data link layer at the receiver side will receive the frame and it will extract the data from the frame. So here it is receiving the frame and here it is extracting the data from the frame, and then it delivers the data to the network layer. So every time we have to remember that the data is given by the network layer. The data link layer will keep it in the form of a frame or give it in the form of a frame to the physical layer. The physical layer, it will use whatever mechanism it is supposed to use and it will send the frame to the receiver side. The receiver side physical layer will receive the frame. It will give that frame to data link layer. Here the data link layer will again extract the frame. Here whatever it is enclosing the frame, in this case it will extract the frame and it will give the data again to the network layer. So basically the data link layer of the sender and receiver provides transmission services. Okay, so here it will enclose the frame and give it to physical, which is transmitted. So both of these provide transmission services. And the data link layer use the services provided by the physical layer. So physical layer will decide whether it has to send it in the form of signals or whether it is using multiplexing, which we have seen in the earlier lectures. So for the physical transmission of bits. So now what will it do is basically it will request from the network layer, and algorithm. So what happens here is algorithm for sender side is it will request from the network layer, and on the receiver side it will always keep on extracting. It will get a notification from the physical layer and it will extract and give it to the network layer. Okay, so in this case the sender side cannot send a frame until it's, now if we have to remember, the sender side, if suppose if it does not have data to be sent, then how will it send? So it needs to have data packet to send, and the receiver side cannot deliver a data packet to its network until and unless it receives the frame. Okay, we also need to understand what is an event. So basically an event is an action which is understood by the software or a program that there should be some kind of reaction. So here in the case of sender side, the event is request from the network layer, and what it does is it will request that we have something to send. Now on the receiver side, and this will repeat forever, that is algorithm for the sender side. And now on the receiver side, there will be a notification from the physical layer that we have received some data and you need to process it. And this will be the algorithm for the receiver side. We will see both of these algorithms on the sender side and the receiver side and how will they work. So now we will see the algorithms. So first we will see the algorithm for the sender side. So the sender side algorithm for the simplest protocol. While, so this, because we are saying that will repeat forever, so we have to take a while loop, and that is an infinity loop. So while true, we have to wait for the event. Now what is the event? The request to send from the network layer. So this request to send will be from the network layer. Before that it will sleep. So here, since the wait means obviously it is sleeping until the event occurs, until the request occurs. Now when there is a request to send, then what will happen? It will wake up, or it will start, and what will it do? It will take the data from the network layer. So network layer will give the data to the data link layer. Data link layer will do these steps. So this two steps, getting the data from the network layer and making the frame, is the responsibility of the data link layer. Now once it makes the frame, for sending the frame, for this step it will make use of the physical layer. So these are the three things that it needs to do on the sender side. Now what will happen on the receiver side is basically this again will repeat forever, that is we have to take an infinity loop and we have to wait for the event. So here the receiver side will be sleeping until it has something to, or until it has some data to receive. Now when the data arrives, that is arrival notification, that is the data frame has arrived, then it will receive the frame. So this is done by the physical layer. Then these two things are done by the data link layer. It will extract the data and deliver the data to the network layer. Okay, so these are the algorithms on the sender side and the receiving side for this protocol. We are studying this protocol, which is the simplest protocol with no flow or error control. That is, we are not making use of either flow control or error control, and we are simply creating we are simply sending the data and the receiver is directly processing the data without any delay or wait time. Now based on this, we will be seeing an example. So here first we will see the figure actually. Yes, so here we have a sender A and receiver B, and there is a request for sending the data. So the receiver is sending the data in the form of frames, and we have arrival on the receiver side. And this is actually the time taken. So maybe this is 0 seconds, 1 second, millisecond, or seconds, whatever unit of time you want to take. So this line shows the time it is taking. So here from it will initially the clock clocks will be synchronized to 0, and whatever time it is taking to send the frames, here the frames. So suppose if it is starting at 1 millisecond, so this is 1 millisecond, and this frames takes 1 millisecond, so here it will end at 2 milliseconds. This way we have to understand. And suppose if you have started sending at 1 millisecond, it is being received at, I believe, 1.5 milliseconds. So you can understand it in this way. Now here we have, this figure shows an example of communication using the protocol. Which protocol are we using? We are using the simplest protocol. So it is very simple. The sender sends a sequence of frames without even thinking about the receiver. That is, there is no flow control. To send 3 frames, 3 events occur at the sender side and 3 events occur at the receiver side. So over here, we are sending 3 frames. So there are 3 events at the sender side and there are 3 events at the receiver side. Next, we have to understand that the data frames are shown by tilted boxes. So we have seen that this is a frame, right? In our diagram in the next slide, we have seen that frames is shown in this way. Why is the box tilted? Because the height of this box, this thing defines the transmission time. So suppose if it takes 1 millisecond, so this height shows that transmission time. That is what is the transmission time? Transmission time TT is defined as difference between the first bit. So if first bit, when is the first bit sent and when is the last bit? So actually it should be last bit sent minus the first bit sent. So that time is known as the transmission time. So this tilted box's height shows this transmission time. Okay. So here we have the sender, receiver, and this transmission time, and in this case we also have the arrival. Now the next thing we will be seeing is the design of stop and wait protocol. So this stop and wait protocol is the protocol where we have both the flow control mechanism. We have the flow control mechanism in this. So if data frames, so first we will see a bit of background for this. So if data frames arrive at the receiver side, so on the receiver side they are arriving faster than they can be processed. So suppose if it can process 3 frames per minute and the sender is sending 6 frames, then what will happen? The frames must be stored. So there needs to be some kind of storage mechanism. Okay, and we have seen what is that storage mechanism known as. It is known as a buffer. So normally the receiver does not have enough storage space if it is receiving data from many sources. So the receiver might be receiving the data from sender 1, sender 2, sender 3. So suppose it might be receiving the data from many sources. In that case, the buffer will, that is the buffer storage will not be sufficient to store the data from those many sources. So what will happen in that case? In that case, the receiver will do 2 things. What will be the receiver be doing? It will either discard the frames, that is throw out the frames which it cannot store, or it will altogether deny it. So there is another thing known as denial of service. So it will deny the frames. So to make sure that these 2 things do not happen, so to prevent the receiver from being overwhelmed with frames, we need to tell the sender, so this is our sender, we need to tell the sender to slow down. Okay, so there must be a feedback from the receiver to the sender. So this is a feedback. Now in that case, what we are doing is we are saying that please slow down so that I can process the frames that I have already received. So this is done by the stop and wait protocol. Okay, so what does it do is that if the sender sends 1 frame, so sender is sending a frame. I'll just show it in the way we have seen in the previous slide, so that you remember that you have to show your sending and receiving in that way if we are discussing these protocols. So we have sender A and we have the receiver B. Now the sender is sending the frame, so obviously it will go, and we have this time. Okay, so here this is the time. The time should always be a dotted line, but I've drawn it in this way. Okay, the sender is sending the frame and the receiver is receiving the frame. Now, after receiving the frame, what the sender will do is it will wait for a confirmation from the receiver. So there must be a confirmation or acknowledgement. We call it usually acknowledgement, that okay, I have processed the frame that you have sent me. Now you can send me the next frame. Okay, so that is basically the receiver is saying it is okay to go ahead. Okay, and then what will the sender do? It will send the next frame. Again, it will wait for an acknowledgement. So this will go on until it has sent all the frames that it was supposed to send. So this is a unidirectional communication from for data frames, and the acknowledgement frames are simply that is they are traveling in another direction, but uh, those are tokens of simple tokens or simple messages. Okay, so we don't count them as bidirectional. We still consider this communication as unidirectional only. So now what we are doing over here to our previous protocol, that is the simplest protocol, we are adding this stop and wait scenario. So here the sender, after sending the first frame, so let's mark it as frame 1, it will stop and wait for the acknowledgement, hence the name stop and wait protocol. So now we will see the diagram for the same. Okay, so this figure illustrates the mechanism of our stop and wait protocol, and over here we can see that the traffic on the forward channel, that is here, this is the forward channel. Okay, on the forward channel we have the data frame that is being sent. So forward channel is from the sender to the receiver, and this is the backward channel, and on this we have the acknowledgement. So the only difference between the earlier diagram and this diagram is we have two channels. Okay, so here if you notice again, let me just zoom in for the same. So we have the sender will be getting the data. One second. Yeah. So the sender will get the data from the network layer. It will take that data, make it in the form of a frame, and send the frame through the physical layer. Physical layer, whatever kind of transmission medium it may select, and it will send the frame to the receiver medium. The receiver will receive the frame, and a physical layer will receive the frames, give it to the data link layer. It will extract the data and give it to the network layer. Now at the data link layer, what it will do, as soon as it receives the frame, it will send another frame. What will that frame have? It is the acknowledgement frame. This acknowledgement frame will be given to the data link layer on the sender side. Once it receives the acknowledgement frame, it will send the next data frame that is to be sent. So this is the mechanism in the case of stop and wait protocol. Here we know that basically two events should occur on the case of the sending side. What are the two events? There should be a request from the network layer or an notification from the physical layer. So first, if the request, there is a request from the network layer, okay, the data link layer will send on, and then the physical layer should notify the sender that afterwards, after sending one data frame, the physical layer should notify that okay, I have received an acknowledgement frame. Then only in that case the data link layer will send another frame. Until then, for another request from the network layer, it will ignore that request. So suppose what I am talking about here is, if the network layer is sending first frame 1, After frame 1, it will say that I have frame 2 also. But for sending of the frame 2, the data link layer will wait for an acknowledgement. So here it has to acknowledge that uh, the receiver has to give an acknowledgement that, okay, I have received frame 1, you can go ahead. Then only the frame 2 will be sent. So until then, the network layer's frame 2 request will be ignored. So now on the receiver side, we will see the other thing. On the receiver side, we will have notification from the physical layer. So the request from the network layer will happen in this case one after another without an arrival event in between. So whenever a frame is sent, the variable is we need to somehow prevent the immediate sending of the data frame. So we have we are using a simple method which can be either true or false. So whenever a frame is sent, the variable is set to false to indicate that a new request cannot be sent until we have received the acknowledgement frame. So in this case, we will see the uh, algorithms of, or basically the pseudocode for both the things once again. So here we see that we will again have an infinite loop, that is, it will repeat forever. First and foremost, we will have this variable can send. Now, what does this do? It will basically keep a track of whether we are getting an acknowledgement or not. So first, it will be true because we have not started sending anything. Next, once and again we will be on sleep, that is, we are waiting for an event. Now the event has started, that is, the network layer has requested to send, and along with that we have to make sure that this thing is true, that is, the variable we can send is true. Now again the same thing will happen, we will get the data, make the frame, send the frame, as we have seen in the earlier protocol. Now one thing we will do over here is we can have can send to false. Okay, what does this mean? We cannot send. Okay, so true means we can send the frame, false means we cannot send the frame until the acknowledgement arrives. Okay, now what are we waiting for? The next event will be for waiting for the acknowledgement. So wait for event. If the arrival notification has occurred, then what we can do is we can receive the frame. Obviously we have to receive the acknowledgement frame, and we will change the can send variable to true. Once it is true, we can again repeat this process as long as we want. Okay, so now in the next case, we have the receiver side algorithm. So in the case of receiver side algorithm, it will be while true, that is an infinite loop. While we are waiting for the event, what event should occur? That is, event is arrival, that is, the data frame has arrived. It will receive the frame, extract the data, deliver the data, and what is this send frame? It is sending an acknowledgement frame. So this is the receiver side and sender side algorithms for stop and wait protocol. Now we will see an example of the same by using this protocol. So this figure, so the figure is this one. So this figure shows an example of communication using the stop and wait protocol. So here I am making sure we are using stop and wait protocol. It is very simple. Basically, the sender sends one frame and waits for the feedback from the receiver. Let's see this. So the frames are represented in blue and the acknowledgement is in orange. So the sender A is sending the frame and it is being arrived, or its arrival at B makes sure then B makes sure that it sends an acknowledgement at A. Once the acknowledgement has arrived at A, the sender will send the next frame. So when the acknowledgement arrives, the sender sends the next frame. Note that sending two frames in the protocol involves the sender in 4 events and the receiver in 2 events. So basically, whenever we are sending 2 frames, what will this on the sender side, how many events will occur? The first is the request to send by the network layer. This is event 1. Then we have event 2. waiting for the acknowledgement. So acknowledgement for event 1. Then event 3 will be frame 2. So this is for frame 1. This will be frame 2. Then event 4 will be acknowledgement of E3. Okay, so there are 4 events on the sending side, and on the receiver side, it is basically waiting for the, it has 2 events. The first event is receiving of frame 1, and the second event is receiving of frame 2. So these are the sending 2 frames in the protocol involves sender in 4 events and receiver in 2 events. Okay. Now the next we have is this diagram. Once again, we will just see it. So the sender A is sending the frame to the receiver B, and here the network layer will request that please send the frame to the data link layer, and it will send it to the help of the physical layer. Here the physical layer will notify about the arrival of the frame. Once the frame has arrived, immediately it will send an acknowledgement to the sender, and then here physical layer again will notify that I have received the acknowledgement. So in case the network layer has another frame, then again it will request that I have to send a frame. Then again physical layer will notify, and this will continue. Okay, so these are the 2 protocols for noiseless channel. As I said, noiseless channel is basically an ideal channel which does not exist in the real world, and we are just studying so that we can have a backdrop for the next 3 protocols that we will be studying in the next class. So today we have seen the 2 protocols, which is the simplest protocol and also the stop and wait protocol. In the next class, we will be seeing the noisy channel, and along with that, we will be seeing these 3 protocols: stop and wait ARQ, go back and ARQ, and selective repeat ARQ. So these are the protocols that we will be studying in the next class. Thank you.